They said he was just a magician. They were wrong. Have you ever heard of a guy who went from doing street magic to winning $18 million with just a deck of cards? Antonio Esfandiari, also known as the Magician. He didn't just shuffle cards and pull coins from ears. He walked into one of the biggest poker tournaments in the world, sat down with the best of the best, and crushed them all. In this video, we're breaking down the insane story of how a noob turned the poker world upside down. Let's dive in. Born Amir Esfandiari in Iran, Antonio moved to the US when he was a kid. At first, he didn't play poker. Nope, he was a real magician, pulling off coin tricks and amazing card flips. But one day, he found poker, and magic turned into money. A lot of money. Let's jump to 2012. That's when Antonio shocked the world. A new poker tournament called the Big One for One Drop was announced. The buy-in, just to enter, was $1 million. That's right. You had to pay $1 million just to get a seat at the table. This was the biggest buy-in ever in poker history, and only the best players even dared to try. Now here's where things get wild.
But running cards could give Sam Trickett a winning full house.
Once that check raise, I can't play any other way.
Antonio entered the tournament, and the pros didn't really see him as the favorite. But Antonio, he didn't care. He sat down, shuffled his chips, and played with style and confidence. He tricked players with smart moves, folded when it was right, and bet big when it mattered most. People say he played like a noob who didn't know the rules, but that's what made him so dangerous. He didn't follow the usual patterns. He confused the experts.
Flop 5, Jack 5. Is this Antonio's night or what? Trip 5s. That also gave Sam a diamond flush draw.
Antonio continues to run good. I can't remember the last tough beat he took at this final table.
He bets over $2 million. Trickett with the raise to $5.4 million. Oh, we saw a pre-flop raising war between these two. Now a post-flop war as Antonio repops it to $10 million. And Sam says, how about $5 million more?
All in.
All in.
Cool.
And Trickett will call with the draw. If Sam can get lucky, this battle will be nearly even, but should he miss, Antonio will win the Big One for One Drop.
No diamond.
Turn card, Tray of Hearts. Antonio just one card away. Here, perhaps the richest ever river card in poker tournament history. It's a heart! Antonio has done it!
He made it all the way to the final table. Then it was just him and Sam Trickett, a super skilled British player. But Antonio stayed cool. He pulled one final bluff that left Trickett stunned. And just like that, Antonio won the tournament and took home $18,346,673. That was the biggest poker prize ever at the time. Can you imagine that much money? That's enough to buy 18 Ferraris. But winning big wasn't his only magic trick. Next up, we'll break down the triple bluff that made poker history. You won't believe how he pulled it off.
It's a heart! Antonio has done it!
The barefoot magician walks away with 18 million plus.
And this wasn't a lucky fluke. Antonio already had 2 World Poker Tour titles and had won millions in other poker games. He had even won a World Series of Poker bracelet back in 2004. But this win in 2012, that was something else. It shot him straight to the top of the all-time poker money list until someone passed him 2 years later. After the Big One for One Drop, Antonio kept going. He won another bracelet in Europe, took more big wins, and kept showing up on poker shows. People loved watching him play. His chip tricks, jokes, and fearless plays made him a fan favorite. Even when he lost, he smiled. But one moment really showed just how sneaky and smart Antonio, the Magician Esfandiari, could be. It wasn't about winning millions or holding the best hand. It was about fooling everyone at the table, even his best friend. Let me tell you about the time Antonio pulled off a move so crazy, so bold, that even pro players couldn't believe it worked.
Antonio's very proud of himself right now.
You have 10-5, I'm like, oh no, close.
I had the best hand.
Okay, good luck with everything.
12,000 down the tubes.
That was nice.
And Antonio is going to raise to 10,300 with a 10-3. And notice he did that again. He's betting 10,300 with a 10-3.
Actually looked at your cards by any chance?
Very interesting. Phil Locke just calling with jacks. Antonio raising with 10-3.
Oh, Locke calls.
Oy vey.
Oy vey, that's an expression from the Kabbalah. Means maybe my jacks are in trouble.
Is this one of your 10-5 dealies or pocket aces?
It happened on a TV show called Poker After Dark. This wasn't just any episode. It was Nicknames Week, where all the players had cool nicknames and big personalities. Antonio the Magician Esfandiari was there, of course, with his best friend Phil the Unabomber Locke. Now here's something fun. Antonio and Phil weren't just poker buddies. They were best friends in real life. They joked around, played poker together all the time, and even went on trips. But on this day, inside that bright poker room full of cameras and chips, friendship was put aside. This was all about the game. Phil Locke was known for wearing a hoodie and sunglasses and for making wild, fearless moves. But Antonio? He had something special planned for his friend, a move no one saw coming. This moment is now called the triple bluff, and it started like this. Antonio was dealt a bad hand. We're not talking just a weak hand. We're talking a hand with no real chance of winning. It was the kind of hand that most people just throw away, but not Antonio. He decided to raise the bet before any cards were even shown. This was the pre-flop move. He looked confident as if he had something strong, and he made a big bet. Phil looked down at his cards. He had a great hand, the kind you definitely want to keep. So he called the bet. The game was on. Then came the flop. The first three community cards that everyone sees. They didn't help Antonio at all, but he didn't stop. He bluffed again. He looked right at Phil, kept a straight face, and bet even more chips. Now Phil was confused. He still had the better hand, but Antonio's bet made it look like he was winning. Should he fold? Should he stay? Phil stayed. The next card, the turn, came out. Still no help for Antonio. His hand was still terrible. But guess what he did? Yeah, he bluffed again. This was the second bluff. He made another bet, just as strong, just as serious. Now everyone watching, both at the table and at home, was holding their breath. Could he really keep this up?
He almost called Antonio's hand, 10-5.
Well, Locke's jack still leading the flop.
Phil Locke checks his jacks. And Antonio was definitely going to fire out if a flop like this came up. But Phil Locke has almost guessed his hand.
Yeah.
He's got 10-3. Phil Locke guessed 10-5. Mr. Locke looks like, all right, Antonio, bring it on. I'm ready.
And it looks like he will. And Antonio comes out firing $17,000 into the pot.
Now, I really do not know what's going on in Phil Locke's mind.
I think
And Jennifer, I don't think Jennifer knows either.
I think she's saying fold with those eyes of hers.
Let's continue from where we left off. Phil was stuck. His hand was good, but Antonio was telling a strong story with all these bets. It looked like the magician had something powerful. Phil paused, thought it through, and he called again. Then came the final card, the river. This was Antonio's last chance, and nothing changed. His hand still had no chance of winning. This was it. The moment. Most people would give up here. Maybe check, maybe just hope for the best. But Antonio, he went all in. This was the third bluff, the final move. He pushed all his chips in the middle and stared across the table at his best friend. And just like that, he said without words, "I dare you to call me." The moment of truth.
You were right, AJ.
Welcome to our high-stakes cash game.
I saw a 10 of clubs. I think.
So Antonio steals a $24,000 pot from his close friend, the Unabomber.
You're starting to realize how these players are going to play more than I am.
I saw it in her eyes.
Antonio's very proud of himself right now.
You have 10-5, I'm like, oh no, close.
I had the best hand.
Okay, good luck with everything.
12,000 down the two.
Now imagine being Phil Locke. You have a good hand. You know your friend Antonio is tricky. But would he really go this far with nothing? Phil looked down at his cards. He looked at the chips. He looked at Antonio. And then he folded. He gave up the hand. Antonio smiled, leaned forward, and slowly turned over his cards. They were trash. No pair, no straight, nothing at all. The room exploded. People couldn't believe it. Antonio had just pulled off one of the boldest bluffs ever seen on TV. He bluffed before the flop, after the flop, and after the turn. And then, when he had no way to win, he went all in with a complete lie. And it worked. Even Phil laughed. He had been tricked by his best friend, and he knew it. All he could do was shake his head and smile. So how did Antonio do it? It wasn't just luck, it was confidence. Antonio told a story about his betting. He acted like he had a strong hand the whole time, and he never showed fear. Even when he had nothing, he made his opponent believe he had everything. That's what makes a great poker player. It's not just about cards, it's about reading people, staying calm, and knowing when to push. Antonio didn't play like a noob. He pretended to be one sometimes. That's what made his bluff so dangerous. He mixed things up so well that even the pros didn't know what to believe. That day on Poker After Dark, Antonio showed everyone that poker isn't just a game of numbers. It's a game of nerves, guts, and timing. The legacy of the triple bluff. After that episode aired, fans couldn't stop talking about the triple bluff. People went online, watched it over and over, and tried to understand how Antonio did it. Other poker players even admitted they learned something from that hand. It became one of the most famous moments in TV poker history, not just because of the bluff, but because of who he bluffed. Phil Lack wasn't just any player, he was Antonio's best friend. And still, the magician made him fold. Some people say Antonio's biggest win was that $18 million at the big one for one drop. But others believe the triple bluff was even better. Why? Because that moment showed the true magician at work. No cards, no tricks, just pure heart and brain power. In the world of poker, there are flashy wins, wild hands, and mountains of cash. But every once in a while, there's a moment so clever, so unexpected, that it becomes a legend. Antonio's triple bluff wasn't just a cool move, it was a message to every poker player out there. Don't ever think you've got me figured out. And just like that, the magician pulled off another impossible trick, right in front of the cameras and right under his best friend's nose. So, if you want to see more legendary bluffs like how Antonio Esfandiari fooled a pro like Phil Lack with nothing in his hand but pure guts, then click right here to watch the next video. And yes, if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment where the underdog takes the spotlight.